Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love each and every day right here. So please lock it in, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if this is the first time that you have come across my channel, please don't hold this video against me in regards to its accuracy of the results this season in 2019 versus my predictions, or in terms of the compelling or entertaining nature of this video, because I will tell you flat out that if you're looking for something compelling or interesting or entertaining at all on YouTube tonight, go somewhere else, or even organized. I should probably supplement what I'm about to explain with graphics, but it's just not really worth it. But I did, on record, want to take my 2019 college football predictions for the season that you can find by simply typing into the search bar on my channel 2018 college football predictions or college football season predictions, and you will see them right there for 2018, so you can verify all this right there. But I actually just wanted to, for you hardcore, for the base, I just wanted to go through my predictions in 2019 and compare them to what actually happened. And again, all of this is going to be a muddled mess that should be supported by graphics so you can actually follow along, but it's just not worth it, and I've got just too much content that I'm going to get out to you that's actually worth a damn. So here we go. In the Pac-12, okay, I picked Oregon to win the North Division at 9-3 and 7-2 in the Pac-12. I picked Washington to actually have a better record at 10-2 and 7-2 in the Pac-12, but to lose the tiebreaker head-to-head. And then I had Stanford at 9-3 and 7-2 in the Pac-12. Washington State 8-4, 6-3 in the conference. Cal at 6-6 and 4-5 in the conference, and Oregon State, as they've been awful forever, at 2-10, 1-8 in the conference. Well, what actually happened was I was right. It didn't look real pretty, but I was right. Oregon won the Pac-12 North at 10-2 and 8-1 in the conference, so I was off by one game. After that, there was a muddled mess of 4-5 teams as Washington, Cal, and Oregon State all went 4-5. Washington and Cal went 7-5 overall, and then Washington State at 6-6, 3-6 in the Pac-12, and Oregon State, of course, I mentioned 5-7 and 4-5. And Stanford at the bottom at 4-8, 3-6 in the Pac-12, their worst season in forever, going back to before Andrew Luck was the quarterback. All right, in the Pac-12 South Division, again, it's not necessarily pretty, but I was right. Utah, I picked to be the winner at 9-3, 6-3 in the conference, and they were at 11-1 and 8-1 in the conference. USC, I picked at 7-5 and 5-4. They went 8-4 and 7-2. I had Arizona State at 6-6 and 4-5. They went 7-5 and 4-5. Arizona, I had at 6-6, making a bowl game, and 3-6 in the Pac-12. They went 4-8 and 2-7. UCLA, I had at 4-8. They went 4-8. I had them at 3-6 in the conference. They went 4-5. And then Colorado, I had in the basement at 3-9 and 1-8. They were better than that at 5-7 and 3-6. So Utah won the South and Oregon won the North, and I picked Oregon to win the championship game over Utah in the Pac-12, 27-23. So even though I got a whole lot wrong here, I got the important stuff right in Oregon winning the conference over Utah. All right, let's move on to the Big 12, where we've got no divisions, just one long conference of 10 teams. I picked Oklahoma to win the number one seed in the regular season, which they did. I picked them 10-2. They went 11-1. I had Texas and TCU tying for second at 9-3. Actually, 9-3 overall. I had Texas with the second best conference record at 7-2, and to be the 2 seed. Texas finished 7-5 and 5-4 in the conference. TCU, I was way off on 9-3, 6-3 versus what they actually did on the field, 5-7, 3-6 in the conference. Iowa State, I was off by a game. They went 7-5 and 5-4. I had them at 8-4 and 6-3. I had Oklahoma State at 4-5 in the conference. They went 5-4. I had them 7-5. They went 8-4. Baylor off by 4 games. Baylor went 11-1. Of course, I had them at 7-5. West Virginia, I was off by a game. I had them at 5-6. They went 5-7. Texas Tech, I had at 6-6. They went 4-8. 2-7 in the conference. I had 3-6. Kansas State, I had only at 4-8 in Chris Klieman's first year. They, of course, had a nice season at 8-4. Kansas, I had at 4-8, 2-7 in the conference. They went 3-9, 1-8. I had Texas upsetting Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game, 38-35. So I had one of the two teams right in the Big 12 championship game, but Texas winning. In the ACC, regardless of what else is said in this video, it needs to be written down and put in the history books that I, unlike anybody else anywhere, was locked in on Clemson. I can't imagine that anybody else picked Clemson to win the ACC Atlantic Division. And I, nevertheless, also had them at 12-0 and 8-0 in the ACC. Brilliant. Okay. I had Boston College at 8-4. They went 6-6. I had them at 5-3 in the conference. They went 4-4. For Florida State, I had at 8-4, 5-3. They went 6-6 and 4-4. NC State, phew. Isn't NC State contractually obligated to go either 7-5 or 8-4? I had them at 7-5 and 4-4 in the conference. They went 4-8, 1-7 in the ACC. Syracuse, of course, coming off that Big Ten win season, I had going 7-5 and 4-4. They pummeled even more. They went 5-7 and 2-6. Wake Forest, I hit perfectly, 7-5 and 4-4. Louisville, I knew they'd be better, but just a little bit better. But they were a lot better. I had the Cardinals going 3-9 under Scott Satterfield and 1-7 in the conference. They, of course, went 7-5 and 5-3. I picked Clemson to win the Atlantic. I picked Virginia to win the Coastal. And voila, Virginia won the Coastal. I had them at 8-4. They went 8-4. 5-3 in the conference, 6-2. I had Miami tying Virginia at 8-4 and 5-3. Of course, the Canes only went 6-6 and 4-4. Virginia Tech I had at 7-5. They went 8-4. Duke, I had it 7-5. They went 5-7. I was a game off in the conference. Pitt, I had it 5-7. They went 7-5. I had them at 3-5 in the ACC. They went one big game better at 4-4. North Carolina, I expected much improvement under Mac Brown from 2 wins to 4. But man, from 2 wins to 6 and then 7 in postseason play. North Carolina, I had it 4-8 and 2-6. They went 6-6 and 4-4. And then Georgia Tech. Pretty much it was easy to get them. I had them at 4-8 and 2-6. They went 3-9 and 2-6. Clemson, I had winning in the ACC championship game, and I correctly predicted that Virginia would score 17 points in the game, as they did. They did give up 62. I had Clemson scoring 38. All right, on to the Big Ten. This is embarrassing. All off season, I had it locked in my brain. Who am I going to pick in the Big Ten West? It's either going to be Wisconsin or Iowa. Those are by far the two most solid teams. Run the ball, play defense, offensive lines, tremendous defensive line play. Those are by far the two best teams, the most solid teams. They are the picks to make. I've got to decide between Iowa and Wisconsin. For some inexplicable reason, maybe it was heat stroke late in the summer. I think that's what it was. Let's blame it on heat stroke. Just in like a 3-day span at the end of August, I suddenly flipped to Nebraska. I bought into the hype. Somebody out there, I almost can't admit to making this prediction because all summer it was Iowa, Wisconsin, Iowa, Wisconsin. I picked Nebraska to go 9-3 and win the Big Ten West. They went 5-7. I had them at 6-3 in the conference. They went 3-6. Iowa, I had it 8-4 and 5-4 in the conference. They went 9-3 and 6-3. Wisconsin, I had it 8-4 and 5-4. They went 10-2 and 7-2, and of course won the division. Northwestern, I knew they would drop off from 9 wins in a division championship and 8-1 in the Big Ten the year before, but I had them at 5-4, 3 games worse. They went from 8-1 to 1-8. Minnesota, of course, was the shocker. I had them continuing to rise in increments. I had Minnesota going 7-5 and 5-4, which would have been a 2-game improvement in the Big Ten. They had a 4-game improvement in the Big Ten, going 7-2 and 10-2 overall. Purdue went 4-8. I had them at 6-6. I was a game off on Purdue in the Big Ten. Illinois, I was way off. I just continued to think that Illinois was awful, and they weren't quite as awful. I had them at 4-8, 1-8. They went 6-6 and 4-5. In the Big Ten Eastern Division, I picked Ohio State. I had them losing 2 games. They lost 0. I had Michigan at 10-2. They went 9-3. I had them at 7-2 in the Big Ten. They went 6-3. I was off by a game. Penn State, I was off by a game. I had them at 9-3 and 6-3. They went 10-2, 7-2. Michigan State, I had it 8-4, 5-4. I was off by a game in the Big Ten. They went 4-5. Maryland, 6-6, 4-5, coming off a 5-7 season. Maryland only went 3-9 and 1-8. I was off by 3 full games on Maryland. Bad pick. Indiana, 6-6. I had them going to a bowl game, but after a couple 5-7s, but they went 8-4 and 5-4 in the Big Ten. And Rutgers, I was dead on Rutgers. The most important selection here, of course, getting Rutgers right. I had them at 2-10 and 0-9. They went 2-10, 0-9. At least I had Ohio State winning the Big Ten, and they did. They beat Wisconsin, not Nebraska, in the Big Ten championship game. And finally, in the SEC, I went back and forth on Bama, LSU, and I flipped the coin in the wrong direction. I had Bama 11-1. They went 10-2. I had LSU at 10-2. They went 12-0. I had Texas A&M going 9-3. They only went 7-5. Auburn at 8-4 and 4-4 in the conference. They went 9-3 and 5-3. I had Mississippi State at 8-4 and 4-4. They went 6-6, 3-5. I had Ole Miss correct in the conference at 2-6. They went 5-7. No, I had them at 5-7. They went 4-8. And then Arkansas was just awful. We all knew that. I had them at 1-7. They went 0-8 in the conference, but I thought they would actually beat the likes of San Jose State outside of the conference, and I was dead wrong. They went 2-10. I had them at 5-7. All right, Georgia went 11-1. I had them at 10-2. So I got Bama winning the East and Georgia the West. Bama did not, of course. LSU won, and Georgia did win the East as predicted. And then I had Florida at 8-4. They went 10-2. I was a game off in the SEC. I had Mizzou at 8-4. They went 6-6. I had Tennessee at 7-5. They went 7-5, but I had them losing more games in the SEC at 3-5. Kentucky, I was perfect, 7-5, 3-5. South Carolina, I had them going 3-5 in the SEC, as they did, but they went 4-8, not 6-6. And Vandy, I had it going 1-7 in the SEC. They went 2. I had going 2-6. They went 1-7. I had Georgia over Bama in the SEC championship game. Georgia made it, but LSU did and throttled the Bulldogs. So if you add all that up, this is not impressive. I am not proud of this. And I would like to tell you that I have done much better in the past in predicting the entire season, but I've not done the metrics to actually tell you that, to back that up. But I guess we'd have to go back to 2018, 17, 16 and see what I posted on YouTube versus the way the season landed. Okay, in terms of overall record, out of 64 Power 5 teams, I hit 7 exact. I should hit more than that. I should hit about 25% to 30%. I hit 7 out of 64 exact. I had 18 of the 64 within one game. So I had 25 of the 64, so about 40%. 25 out of 64 within one game. I guess that's not too bad. And then in terms of conference record, I had 9 exact and 29 within one game. So that's 38 total within one game. So 38 out of 64, more than half of them, well over half. 38 out of 64. So 26 I didn't get within one game. So that's actually not too bad. I hit on 38 out of 64 teams within one game in their conference record. I had Clemson going to the college football playoff as the 1 seed, Georgia the 2, Ohio State the 3, and Alabama the 4. I only hit 2 out of 4. Bama could have been there. Georgia could have been there. Anyway, if the playoff standings, of course, were LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma. So I hit 2 out of the 4. I had Clemson losing the national championship game. Perfect. But I had Georgia winning the national championship game. Not so perfect. They finished in the top 4. There you go. 2019's over. Let's move on to 2020. I would like to look at my 5 surprise teams and my 5 disappointments from 2019, and we still have to do conference rankings. Keep it locked in here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. This is your place to be. If you love college football, please help us build the channel. If you don't like the analysis from me, I bring on 100 zillion bloggers and broadcasters and writers. Listen to them as well. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We'll see you next time.